So welcome everybody to this 13th International Conference on E-Learning and Innovative Pedagogies. We're virtually at the University of the Aegean in the Rhodes campus. Even our host is only virtually on the campus because we know what's happened. The theme of this conference which was thought up way before this crisis happened, was there is no scale, distance and access in the era of distributed learning. And what we were really wanting to talk about with things like MOOCs and these massive online access environments, and we use that ominous word distance in the title, and all of a sudden distance has become something that we now live by. So anyhow, I'd like to hand over to, and by the way, I'm here with Mary Kalantzis, and Mary and Chryssi are going to have a bit of a conversation about what some of the key issues are for our moment. But one of the things I'm going to do now is hand over to Professor Vitsilaki, who's going to do a welcome to everybody who's at the conference. She, by the way, is the rector of the University of the Aegean, which is spread across multiple islands across the Aegean. And I'm sure Chryssi will tell us more about that.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on whichever part of the world you are watching us from. Good morning. I am now speaking to you, I can only say, from the World Wide Web, exactly because we're all tuned in what was to be a discussion about distance learning and e-learning. But in present day, but now we're actually doing e-communicating and e-conferencing in circumstances which were imposed upon us. But nonetheless, we know that the majority of us that are here gathered are interested in exactly how to use technology in order to do learning, and not only to do learning because it needs to be done by distance, but to do it pedagogically better and with the support of technology, because technology has so much to offer to us in so many ways. Technophobia and other negative attitudes and stances that many teachers and students have across the world of all levels toward using technology is in effect something that overlooks or very often just psychologically puts aside what are really very, very important tools for us to share and present knowledge and work upon it within a learning community. And the internet can very much help into that. So I think, ironically, maybe it is the best way to talk about e-learning and distance learning and massive programs such as MOOCs in a situation, in a time frame where the whole world was just dipped into knowingly or unknowingly how doing e-learning, using the internet, doing telework. And so here we are, and we can talk and discuss and ponder on what it is that we can do using technology in learning and doing pedagogically better what we do through using technology and enhancing what we do through the use of technology. And so I would have loved, to tell you the truth, to have been welcoming you in situ, in Rhodes, at the University of the Aegean, a university which is one of the younger universities in the world, about 30, 35 years old for some departments. But because it is very rare as a university, in that it is situated on 6 islands throughout the Aegean Sea, it very quickly got onto turning a disadvantage of being located in very many places to an advantage in becoming more and more an expert in using and studying e-learning. Plus, Rhodes is a beautiful place. So apart from telling you our experiences, we would have loved to show you around. But we are here, and at least I can commit myself that within the next couple of years, I will try and be here as your host, should our common ground colleagues and friends wish to, so that we would have gained something by doing this part of the conference online, but gained a bit more by meeting in person. So I will be waiting for you, and here I am for any discussion you would like to have. Welcome to Rhodes virtually. Welcome to the University of the Aegean virtually, but with a heartfelt, sincere welcome. Hello, Mary, Bill, thank you for having me. Thank you for deciding to share our long-standing collaboration and friendship through this new experience, and no one better to share it with but you.
Okay, thank you, Chryssi, for that lovely introduction. You are the first female rector of a university in Greece, and a very progressive university. The University of the Aegean, even though it's a young university, or perhaps because it's a young university, has been very progressive. And you particularly, Chryssi, when you were a scholar, a professor, and a head of department, initiated very significant online learning programs within the university. Would you like to just tell us a little bit about what motivated you to do that, and what effect that had on the larger community in terms of learning of the value of the programs that you introduced then as a professor and as a head of department?
Well, part of what motivated me was what I initially mentioned, which was in a university that was situated on 6 islands. When I wanted to set up an innovative gender studies program, I wanted to give courses on gender across all the departments of the university. So how to do it? You had to use technology. And how to start finding out the best method to do it. First, you go and you build on the very important work that was already being done by dear friends and colleagues, such as Bill and Mary, such as you, taking the paradigms that you were setting out, as I said, very early on, looking into the theory of e-learning, and then just addressing the 3 issues that one needs to address when setting up an e-learning program. One aspect of it is the organizational, bureaucratic setting up, which has a lot of logistics in it, and you've got to do it well, otherwise it can't work. It's got economics in it, it's got all of these aspects. But that is one aspect. The pedagogical aspect and the improvement of new models of learning and teaching, advanced progressive models, which had interaction within them and learning communities and exchange with the students, and going away from the feeding mode of teaching, as I was saying, was the whole new framework that one had to employ to do, as I said, a better pedagogical model and a better learning outcome. And the third dimension is the technology. You have to get enough into learning and understanding the various tools and the various platforms that you will use, so that you will manage to pedagogically have a better outcome. And this we realize very much now, when the whole world was just immersed into doing e-learning from one day to the next. And very often we use a lot of platforms which have nothing to do with the ability to do learning or teaching through them. We're using a means right now, which is a very good teleconferencing instrument, but it is not an equally good teaching and learning instrument. And so all of these 3 dimensions are something that I had to delve into, and with all of my team, and we started setting up master's programs, undergraduate programs, very many lifelong learning programs. And today we are in a position to support the government in teacher education through a MOOC, so that we will give access to even very quick teaching programs at the beginning of like 10, 15 hours, quick meetings through small videos and things like that, to be able to give access to more than 150,000 educators of primary and secondary education. Right. And we'll see how that will go. I will present you some work in the next conference.
That's a very ambitious agenda. And just my final question, you did that work initially as a scholar and as a professor and a head of department. Now you're a rector with that experience behind you. How do you go about influencing others, other rectors, other universities, other faculty across the different islands from the position of a leader? What have you learned works in influencing others to consider seriously what the strengths are in this e-learning area and what the pitfalls are as well?
The main strength is that indeed, out of nowhere, it gives you the means to access your students and try in whichever way, even up to now, to do what you knew how to do. But also within the process, the main pitfall is to think that using technology or doing e-learning is to keep doing just through a camera what you were doing as standard traditional teaching. That is the most difficult thing to try and get across, especially when you've delved into, I was faced within 3 days to turn the university from Thursday afternoon when the decree came from the ministry until Monday morning. I had set up all the courses, enrolled all the students in their respective courses, and had registered all the professors to be able to get online synchronously. And at the same time have created for them asynchronous platforms. Now, that was the easy step. They realized they had to do it and they went to do it. My difficulty is, as time gets across, first of all, to deal with all of these negative feelings toward technology, and this is not real teaching and all of that kind of stuff, to try and explain to them that that's not how we do it, to do it correctly as e-learning. To really, to make people rethink totally what they're doing in terms of presenting it online. That became easier when I gave them easier solutions by suggesting to them that sort of a guide that would say, first, you have to do real educational design. You don't just walk into a class and start talking. You have to plan what you're going to do, what is it that you're seeking for them to learn. You start from the learning outcomes. You design what you will be saying, and you design which materials you will be using. You design how built-in the assessment will be, which should be continuous assessment. In a university system like the Greek one, where you have to, you think that people study whatever you give them to read, one book, and then they come one time and give exams for 3 hours. That's not assessment in learning, but that is how we traditionally do it, okay? What the good that can come of it is only if we can teach them that, first of all, through doing this, you learned and you overcame whichever fears or dislike or disdain you had toward using technology, and how you can use what you acquired as knowledge with the access of technology, with the use of multimodal educational material, with creating your own material. We gave them guidelines on how to create a material that is fit for e-learning, guiding the students along and the teachers, creating a community, giving them group work, sort of pedagogically framing what they do in a way that doesn't fit the traditional pedagogical model. Right. If we can succeed just a little, just to give some hints to them, I think we would have won a lot of them to bring them into the next phase of really understanding what e-learning is about.
So, Chryssi, thank you so much. It's wonderful that your university and you are the hosts of this conference. Your deep expertise, your continuing focus on being an educator as you are an administrator, blending those two things together are vital for the success of this moment. So we're really graced to be there.
Thank you very much, Chryssi, and welcome to everybody else to the conference, the virtual conference. And we promise we're coming there. I think there's some discussion about that being next year even, but whenever it is, we'll all be there, we promise.
The university
as you can tell, the big white sea of the Aegean awaits for you. All of you.
Thank you so much.